In my eyes, there are three big problems for creatives and creators right now. The first is that complex note-taking systems just don't work. We already know this. Unless you want to have a full-time job where you are manually organizing your notes, you are going to lose all of the ideas that you save. But you save these ideas for a reason. You need to find them again as a creative. This is why people like Leonardo da Vinci kept a commonplace book, because it was something that he could refer to when he needed ideas for his inventions. It is a crucial part of creative work in general. You need to be able to surface the ideas that you saved so that they could fuel your creative work, because that's what ideas are meant to do. They're not meant to sit and collect dust. They're meant to use as fuel for the things that you are producing. The second problem is that most social media tools just suck. And that's unfortunate, because social media is how creatives get distribution for their work nowadays. You don't go on the radio, you don't go on TV, you post on social media to get an audience for the creative work you love to do. You write and you post videos. You capture ideas, you turn them into writing, you turn them into videos, and then you put them out for everyone else to see. But the tools and software available to creators right now are largely gimmicks. I know this because I've spent 7 years doing this, and they all try to promise you that you will go viral using tactics that can't be replicated over and over again, or they try to automate the entire process for you so that you don't have to even think, and that's not going to work because you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand how to pivot and adapt. With something like budgeting, it's very easy to follow a step-by-step process to get a specific result. But with social media, there is no such thing as a step-by-step process that gets a specific result every single time. You have to have the skill, the creativity. And by using a software that promises one of these things, they can be useful for beginners and starting out and using templates as training wheels. But if you become dependent on them, you'll be stuck wondering why you aren't making any progress. And the third problem is that most AI tools are blind. So ChatGPT, Claude, they're incredible. They're amazing tools. I use them every day, but they can't see social media posts. They can't see your analytics. They can't research and break down what's working for a specific creator. They can't schedule posts. They can't see what's trending. They can't see social media content. So how are they going to know what works if you ask them for content ideas or to research the market? They're going to guess. And that's exactly why we built Eden. That's what we're here to talk about, how we solve those three problems through a very unique tool. With that said, Eden is for three types of people. The first is the curators, so the people who save ideas and inspiration and social posts and highlights. They're the readers and the learners that want a place to store their ideas in a way that can be found again. And the second type of person is the creator, because a creator is technically the next evolution of the curator. They still save ideas and they need to find them because they're writing, they're posting, they're creating videos. They need ideas for those things, but they also need to know what works. They need a strategy, because being a creator is like merging art with business. You need to do what you love, but you also need to do what works. So Eden is for those who need to search what's trending, what works for specific creators, being able to save posts to a swipe file or post to an inspiration board or folder. And creators just need a place to write or create that isn't bland. It needs to foster the creative process. It can't just be a bland, boring note-taking app. And the third type of person is the agent-first creators. So the people who are doing research with Claude or ChatGPT or building their own systems or scheduling content or other things of that nature. But they don't want to spend the time and money to build out their own internal tools. That's going to cost a lot of money each month, scraping creators, maintaining their own scheduler. It's a full-time job. Even if AI can build anything, it's a full-time job to maintain your own internal tools, especially as a creator when you want to focus on content. So that's what the MCP is for. The agent first creators are going to use the MCP to access their analytics, research creators, research what's trending, schedule content, and build their own social media tools. So in this video, this one's going to be long. You can already tell that it's not going to be short. This is going to be a complete overview of everything inside of Eden. This isn't a quick tutorial on how to get a quick result. This is the complete overview. There will be more tutorials, but this is just the big overview. So what I would recommend is look at the chapters of this video and skip if you just want to find something specific. We're going to go over the TLDR or the quick overview version first right now, so you get the gist and can get on with your day. But then we're going to go into all of the features and how to use them to their maximum potential so that you can see how it aids in the curation and content creation process without promising you gimmicks. It's based on principles rather than tactics that aren't sustainable and aren't going to get you the best results. All right, so we are inside of Eden, and for those who just want the quick start guide, that's what we're going to go over now. And in Eden, it's really a simple 3-step process. The first thing you can do is just save ideas. You can capture an idea, like a text idea. You can paste a link to anything, a Substack article, a YouTube video, a social media post. And if you use the mobile app, you can actually be on something like Instagram, hit the share button, and then save it straight to Eden to your library or boards. And the place that those will show up if you don't save them to a board is in the library. And so what the library is a place where you can save anything, documents, notes, posts, links, PDFs, EPUBs, etc., without worrying about organization. That is the key part. You just embrace the chaos because we auto tag, auto categorize, and create relations and connections between everything that you add to your library so that you can find it later. And you can also use the Chrome extension to quickly save posts, YouTube videos, Substack articles when you are scrolling to your library or boards. So you can see here that we have a reading list, which we'll go over later, where you can read and highlight Substack articles, PDFs, YouTube transcripts, etc., and the highlights saved here as well. And I can filter by specific social media platforms like YouTube, or by specific topic because we auto-categorize everything, or specific types. And as it shows here, you can also connect to Kindle or Readwise, or in the Eden settings, you can import from your X bookmarks or your Substack saves, so they all come here. Now, the important thing to note is that I can search this at any time by just typing in here or turning the AI search on. And the reason this becomes so powerful is because if I'm writing something like a newsletter inside of a board where I have all of my ideas relating to what I'm writing here, I can open up the library in a pane and I can start searching through all of my ideas. Or I can open up a chat in a pane and I can just ask it to find ideas related to what I'm writing about. So I can click here on my newsletter, it populates in the chat, and I can say, hey, find novel connections that would make sense inside of this newsletter, or research my entire workspace and find connecting ideas. And I don't need to use all of them, but that surfaces ideas that I thought I had previously lost or forgot about, but I saved for a reason. Because the AI chat can search through all of the relations we create between the items that you add inside of Eden. So that's how you save ideas that you find important. Those are your favorite ideas, the ideas that excite you. But what about the high-performing ideas, the trending ideas? Because remember, being a creator is merging art with business and then making it your own or giving your own perspective. And all of the top creators, if you look at Alex Hormozi or Cody Sanchez or any of them, you will know that the very first step in their process is researching the market before they choose what to write about. So what the Discover page is it surfaces outlier content and top percentile content according to the niche or categories that you choose and according to the platforms that you want to see and all of the different settings here. So X, Threads, YouTube, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. We have a growing social corpus of over 3 to 4 million posts, and it's growing every single day. No other app or tool has access to this, and you will only find this kind of feature inside of Eden that covers all platforms. Some outlier tools cover one platform, but not all of them. Now, what you can do here is you can click save, and you can save the creator to a list, or save this post to a board. And a board is just a place to organize ideas like a swipe file or an inspiration folder, or where you write your newsletters or content, which we'll go over. Or you can just add things to your library if you like the post and don't want to worry about choosing where to save it. So you can search for specific ideas if you're writing about a specific topic, or you can ask the AI chat to research creators or trending posts for you, and it will do the research for you. And then you can chat with them, break them down, so on and so forth. And we'll go over some cool strategies on how to actually do that. Now, inside of the Discover tab, there is the Creators tab. And what you can do here is search for any creator. You can add them to a list, which is essentially just a place where all of the creators' posts show up. So if you want to see a bunch of creators' posts in one place, add them to a list, and then you can look at the list. But the reason this is so powerful is because you can study what works for a creator. You can study their top content on any platform. So if I go to my own profile here, you can see it's already filtered by top liked. and you can see this is top content. If you need a proven idea or a proven structure, this is the easiest way to find one, is to understand what creators are in your niche and then research them, save some of their posts to a board like a Substack swipe file board where you save Substack posts that you like so you can chat with the board later to get inspiration. And we haven't gotten to the point where we actually learn how to use the structure of a viral format without copying it, because that's not what I'm saying here, trust me. But the objection there is, okay, well, I don't know what creators are in my niche. Well, no problem, I got you, because we embed creators as well. So you can type in the handle of a creator up here, or you can just search for a specific topic and it will bring up creators that post inside of that topic. Or you can create a new chat and just say, hey, what kind of creators talk about this, this, and this? And then it'll say, well, these creators do. And you say, okay, well, what are their top posts? And then it says, here's their top posts. And you say, okay, can you interview me to pull content ideas out of me? And then we can use what we learn from that creator in order to help me format and turn the ideas that I give you into a high performing post structure. So that's a little tip and one thing you could try out. If you need help with this, you can paste the link to this YouTube video into a chat inside of Eden and just say, hey, walk me through all of this or help me do this. Because inside of the chat, you can also paste links to any platform and chat with them, which again, Claude, ChatGPT, they don't have access to that. Unless you install the MCP to Claude, then it can find and search links through Eden. So inside of Library, you have a place to save ideas without worrying about organization. Inside of Discover, you have a way to find proven ideas. Now, you need a place to organize those ideas. And what that looks like is something like this, where I have my own My Best Newsletters and YouTube Videos folder or board. And this is very helpful because whenever I'm going to create a new YouTube video or a new Substack article or newsletter, I can reference my best posts, see the title structure, I can go into them and see how I actually wrote it. And it's just very easy for me to go in here. And you can create something like a post swipe file. And this is just where I save posts that I really liked, because it gives me inspiration. When I need an idea, I can come into here. And that's how ideas work, is you immerse your mind in a bunch of ideas and then you let your subconscious do the work until it bursts a new one. And this is just what marketers have done throughout centuries. They save high performing posts, landing pages, inspiration, everything else so that they can grade it against what they create. So if you wanted to get started here, the one thing I would recommend is just create a board that is a swipe file for the platforms that you post on. So something like a YouTube swipe file if you post on YouTube, or a Twitter swipe file if you post on X. And whenever you notice an idea that is doing really well, that inspires you, then you can save it to that specific board. And then as a little tip, you can chat with this board directly, or you can hit the boost icon and you can break it into post ideas, get variations, build a hook bank, outline a long form piece, or replicate the playbook. And these are just super helpful to click through and have fun with. And now later in the video, I'm going to show you how I personally use boards for writing a week's worth of content, because I feel like it's a much better experience than trying to flip between so many different tabs and AI chats and note-taking apps to just try to write one thing. Your ideas are scattered all over the place. When you're writing for the week, you can just choose a theme and then save ideas to a board with that theme and then use those ideas to write. And it's just a much better experience in my opinion. Now, all of that sounds great, but you're here because you want a specific result, right? You want to write better posts. You want to grow on social media. So how do you actually tie everything together? How do you make use of the ideas in your library or in your boards or on the Discover feed? And the way to do that is by using a custom AI, specifically the ones that we have built for you. So if you just go to the custom AI tab and then go to explore, you can filter by category or by platform. And there are so many different things that you can use here. There's a topic research custom AI. There's a personal brand strategist. If you don't know what you want your personal brand to be or what you're going to talk about or what your beliefs are, this will help you build a better personal brand than 99% of creators. I can promise you that. And the output is actually insane. If you want to start writing Substack newsletters, you can do so in here, and you literally just open this up and then you hit one of the starter prompts. Well, you add it to your workspace first and then it opens a chat, and then you hit a starter prompt and then you just chat with it, and you will be surprised at what comes out and how much you learn. But another thing about custom AIs is that they're kind of like Claude projects or Notebook LM. And essentially what they are research tools and thought partners. And they're built around a specific purpose. They aren't just a generic AI chat that can do anything. They are narrowed in their context. You're essentially speaking with an expert, or you're speaking with a specific person or a specific brain, because if we look inside of here, these come with built-in knowledge. You can add YouTube videos, you can add social posts, you can add documents or PDFs, and you can add specific creators so it knows it can pull from their perspective. So in this YouTube script studio, it can go and look at Ali Abdaal's top YouTube videos, break them down, understand why they work, and then apply it to your own idea or script. And a general AI chat is never going to do that unless you know how to prompt it really well. And so we're going to go over how to create your own custom AIs later in this video. But if I were to recommend starting off with one, it would be either the creator deep dive, so you can just learn the strategies that work for a specific creator, or just the daily post writer. So you can add this to your workspace. It's going to ask you a few questions, and it's going to help you come up with an idea that you think is worth posting. And that is a very important part, because at Eden, we are not for AI writing for you by any means. That's why we call these research tools and thought partners, because we believe when it comes to content creation, that is the best use case for them. And so we've essentially gone through every tab, but the last one is the publish tab. And we're not going to go deep into this right now. I'll save that for later in the video on how to actually use this, but this is where you can write posts and schedule them to all platforms. You can also write X articles or Substack articles and schedule those. You can see your sent posts here with your analytics. You can also actually see your analytics for every platform and go through it. You can also chat with this. You can just ask the chat, hey, what are my analytics? What are some insights? What can I do better next week? And then for those who are really serious, there is an auto DM feature. So if you use Instagram and you see the people saying, hey, comment this keyword and I'll send you a link, that's exactly what this is. And you can do that inside of here as well. You can also do it via the MCP in Claude. So you can have Claude set up your auto DM automations. And everything we just went over, Claude has access to as well with the MCP if you want to research top performing posts or see the ideas you've saved so that you can create content based on those. And if you want to go crazy and build some kind of Telegram bot and you come up with an idea and you text the bot and say, hey, schedule this via Eden, then it can schedule your post for you as well. And speaking of that, I'll leave a link to this in the description, but if you are one of the people that wants to use the MCP so that you can access analytics and trending posts and all of that good stuff, if you go to eden.so/workflows, we built Claude skills so that you can use the Eden MCP to build your own content command center or weekly strategist or personal brand strategy or idea engine. And it's as simple as clicking on one of these and then you copy the setup prompt. That's it. You just copy this, paste it into Claude, specifically Claude Code or Claude Cowork, and then it will walk you through setting everything up. So that was the entire Quickstart guide. Even though that wasn't really quick, I wanted to make it thorough, but you get the point. Those are the main features in Eden for saving inspiration, finding proven ideas, and actually writing content worth posting without the gimmicks or the tactics that are just going to get you stuck. And we're going to dive deeper into how to not get stuck or fall for tactics as we go throughout this video. So now we're going to get into the actual tutorial where we go through each feature and learn all of its ins and its outs. And as we do that, I will show you some cool expert tips so that you can get the most out of this and you can start to create your own workflow. All right, we are on the home screen now, and there's really only so much you need to know here, right? You have your quick actions, so you can capture an idea, and this quickly allows you to capture, choose if you want it to go into your library or a folder. You can just type text, or you can paste a link, or you can upload an image. And when you're typing down text to capture an idea, you can switch between a card and a document. So this is a very important distinction. A card inside of Eden is kind of just like a little text box. Think of it like a sticky note where you're jotting down a quick idea. A document is like a document, right? It has a title. It's where you'd write something like a newsletter or an outline or a plan or something of that nature. So typically when you're capturing an idea, the reason I like capturing ideas as a card is because ideas are short and punchy. They don't belong in a full note in Apple Notes, even though that's still a great place to put them. I prefer my ideas to be atomic, and that way when they're in the library and I search for them, it can see the ideas individually. And especially when I'm writing a newsletter on a board and I save ideas to that board, I want to be able to see them as they are. And now in this video, we're not going to go into like all of the keyboard shortcuts or the power user stuff, but there are keyboard shortcuts for people who want to use them and just want to go through this really fast. And now another way to open that menu is by hitting Create or Search or Command K. And what this is going to do is give you quick actions. So you can create a new card, a new document from a template. If you save a document as a template, like a newsletter template, you can paste a link, create a new board, create a new folder in the sidebar, or create a new chat. So if I wanted to open a chat really quick, I would just press Command K, C, and then a chat would be open. And if I scroll down further, I can just search my workspace, right? If I want to go to an item really quick in my workspace, I can just search for it, hit enter, or I can hit Option Enter, and that will open it in a side pane. And what I mean by side pane is this. So this is another tip inside of Eden, is that if I'm writing something or creating something inside of one pane, I can open multiple side panes and then filter through them. So let's imagine that I'm writing a newsletter inside of this main pane here. Let's say like I have this one open and I'm writing inside of here. Then I can reference other boards on the side here, or whenever you click this open in pane icon, you'll see it everywhere around the app. It will open things inside of a pane as a stack. So if I want to open up an AI chat and chat with this document really quick, I can open it up here, or I could simply click this chat button here so I can chat with this newsletter specifically. And then you can see that the panes stack right here and you can switch between them. So if I want a YouTube video open that I'm referencing, or multiple AI chats, or other notes or documents, or my library, then I can have them open here as I'm writing. And this will also make more sense when it comes to writing actual social media posts, because if I open the Publish tab in the main pane, then I can open things like my boards with my ideas, or the Discover feed in a pane. And I can just look at ideas as I draft social media posts to go out to all platforms. So those are kind of the navigation features of Eden. But if we go back and we start to focus on library, I want to show you what you can do here. So inside of library, the thing you can obviously do is you can create new items. You can insert a link, create a document, create a card, or upload media. You can just drag and drop things in here as well, or you can just paste a link. So I actually went over to YouTube and copied a link, and then if I just hit Command or Control V, you'll see that the link just pops up here and it's good to go. It's inside of your library, it's already being auto-categorized, and it's finding relations between every single other item in your library so that you can find it later or utilize it later. Now, one thing to notice here is that this says reading list. So when you save from the Chrome extension or the mobile app, you can choose the option to save to your reading list, which is essentially like a read for later list. Because inside of Eden, we have a reader mode for YouTube video transcripts, Substack articles, X articles, PDFs, EPUBs, or anything that you would want to read. So let's say that I find a Substack article that I really like, and I have a few here inside of my library, like this guy. You can see that when I open any post, it allows me to open it in reader mode, or copy text, or add a note, or I can see the transcript here if you want to read the transcript that way. But if I open reader mode, you can see that it's more of a reader where I can select text and highlight. And I can also click on the highlight and add the highlight to a board, because a highlight is a specific item in Eden as well. So if we go back to the library and I filter specifically by highlights and Substack, we'll keep it there, you can see that my highlights from Readwise or Kindle or anything else that I connect are here. And that's one important thing. So if I go into settings and then I go to integrations, you can see that I can connect to Kindle, I can connect to Sniped, I can add RSS feeds, I can capture from email. So if you forward an email to this email address by copying it, then it will save the email as a document inside of your library. So it's just a way to capture ideas from email. You can also enable X bookmarks or Substack bookmarks. And if you already have everything inside of Readwise, you can do that as well by connecting to Readwise. If you don't know what Readwise is, it is essentially the same thing where you can have X bookmarks, you can have RSS feeds, connect to Snipe, connect to Kindle. It's a highlights manager. Inside of the library as well, there is also the list view, so I can view things in a list, or the sources view, so I can see all of the sources and look at what's inside of them specifically, like inside of books that I've highlighted from. And again, the AI chat also has access to all of this. So if I said, hey, give me a few highlights that would work for this newsletter from Integral Psychology by Ken Wilber, it would be able to do that. And going back to the list view, this is very helpful for potentially organizing various ideas. So if you want to filter or search through things and add them to a board really quick, you can just click on it, hit B, and then choose a board that you want it to go onto. And all of the keyboard shortcuts work here as well. So I can just navigate with my keyboard up and down. I can hold Shift and select multiple, and then you can see if I click B, I'll be able to move all of those to a board. And essentially what you're doing in the library is you're not moving it to a board, you're adding it to the board. Everything inside of your workspace lives in your library. That is the one place. It's just chaotic. It's unorganized, even though we do organize it on the back end. But then whatever you put on a board is a reference of that thing. So you're not duplicating anything, so it's impossible to search. All items point back to the item that is in your library. And now the one thing that I didn't show inside of library is that when you create a card, you can quickly just jot down an idea and then hit Command Enter to create a new card. And you can just jot down multiple ideas here if this is where you want to capture ideas. Of course, you can do it inside of the Capture tab or from mobile or from wherever. But if you just have an idea that you need to get down, then put it inside of library in a card. Now again, why is library important? Why is it different? Because as a creator or a writer or a marketer, all of your saved ideas are gold. You save them for a reason. So when you're writing the landing page or writing the newsletter or the YouTube script or the social media posts, you want to be able to surface the relevant ideas that give you a unique perspective on that thing. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have the library filled with the ideas that you love, then you're essentially going after the same ideas as everyone else. That's why every creator sounds like they're just copying each other, because they don't have a unique set of ideas, because that's what the mind is a web of ideas. You can think of your library as a second subconscious. It is a second brain, so to say, but with the relations and connections that we do, it's more of a second subconscious that surfaces ideas when you need them and help you become unique. That is your advantage. So that was the library feature. Now let's actually dig into the discover feature and how you can really make the most of this. And I'm going to show you one really cool trick that will get you to write your first piece of content that will be actually good and not just copying what's here. Now, if you wanted to grow on something like YouTube, you would hear that you need to use an outlier tool so that you can search high-performing titles and thumbnails like this one. This would probably show up in other outlier tools. The reason is because of how YouTube or social media in general works. If you have studied YouTube as a creator or have noticed patterns on YouTube, you would notice that this title, 5 Hacks to Use ChatGPT So Well It's Almost Unfair, is a high-performing structure for a YouTube title. You would also know that this thumbnail is pretty good. As an example of what I mean, I've written a newsletter called How to Become So Focused It Feels Illegal, and that's a very similar title because that's what's working right now. But that doesn't mean that what was inside of my newsletter or YouTube video was just like all the same as someone else's. It's just the packaging. That's what gets people to click. That's what gets people interested, and then they discover your unique perspective as they actually read the content. It's the same thing with my friend Craig Perry, who one of his first 2 videos was titled How to Remember Everything You Read, and it got hundreds of thousands of views for his first video. That's just absurd. But the reason it worked is because it was a high-performing structure. Ali Abdaal had created previous videos titled How to Remember Everything You Read that got millions of views, but the content within the videos for both of those 2 creators were vastly different. So there are 2 things that I want to show you here to help you take advantage of this, and you can do this with any post inside of Discover or inside of the Creators tab because they all have the same thing. So the first thing you would do is you find an idea that you could see under your own brand or content. And it doesn't even have to be that. It doesn't even have to be inside of your niche. It just needs to be a high-performing video. So I want you to click this boost icon, and then you're going to go down to reverse engineer and click that. And now what it's going to do is take that video and run it through a reverse engineer prompt that we have, and it's going to break it all down. And I'll let you try this out and actually read through it yourself on the one that you do inside of Eden, but you'll see how extensive of a breakdown this gives you of the post. It gives you the hook, the psychological tactics, everything that goes into it that you would probably never come up with yourself or even notice when you're watching the video. And so your question may be, okay, what do I actually do with this? How does this help me write better content? And so what I wrote here is I want you to interview me for unique content ideas and then help me apply the principles of that breakdown, this one, while guiding me through writing my own YouTube outline. So what we're doing here is we're not copying this post exactly. We're taking what worked and applying it to an idea that we want to write about. If you already have an idea that you want to write about, like something from your library or another post that you found inspiration from and you want to merge the two together, then you can say that here as well. But if you don't know what to write, then you can have the AI interview you to pull good content ideas out of you. So I sent that message and it just went straight into it. What's your niche? What do you know or see that your audience doesn't? What's your credibility stack? Give me one personal story. What would you be willing to title the clone, the swarm, or the something, concepts, frameworks, or systems you use that your audience would steal if they understood them? And then you can just start to have a conversation and fill it out. You're not having the AI give you ideas. You're having it extract ideas from you or your workspace or the inspiration that you've saved. Of course, like this gives you the ability to have the AI write for you. But again, that's not necessarily something I recommend. And this is a great way to learn content creation is by having the AI be a coach or guide. Now, I'm not going to continue going through this. I just wanted to show you this little trick. But if you want to get up and running quick with high performing content, this can be a way to do it. Because when we go over the custom AI features, this gets a lot crazier. So that was a little tip on how to use the Discover feed, but the Discover feed is only really a UI for our entire social corpus of validated posts. So the chat has access to a lot of that, or all of that actually, and can search across it in many different ways that you may not think to search inside of Discover. So one thing I just typed inside of a new chat is I want you to find top ideas around productivity in monk mode. Give me a few YouTube videos and Substack notes or articles. And it said, here are a few. And we have very top performing posts around those things. This thumbnail could be great inspiration for another thumbnail. So could this title. So could this video. So could this one. I actually like Daniel Barada. He's a good dude. Props to you, man. There's also a YouTube short inside of here, which did really well. But I personally think this may be a fluke. So can I guarantee that every single idea is going to be the best idea that you've ever seen? No, but that's why it shows you multiple. That's why you can scroll through. That's why you can ask the AI to refine the results. This one, incredible. Like these are all pretty good. And I asked for Substack notes as well. And I can add these to a board if I want to, or I can just boost them in a chat like we did previously. Or I can say, okay, take what works from all of these and let's start to ideate other post ideas. And if I find a creator that I actually want to look at, I can open them in a pane just by clicking the link and I can start to look at their top posts here. So you just have infinite ideas on tap. Okay, we've gone over library, we've gone over Discover. Now I want to go over boards. And as mentioned previously, you can think of boards as serving two functions. The first is just as a swipe file or as an organizational layer. So you can save, let's say, YouTube videos to a YouTube video swipe file if you want to curate a list of YouTube videos. But the second function is treating it as a place to write, as a place to put your creative projects. And so I want to go over a bit of what I do and how I use boards for how I write specifically. This is what I wouldn't say average board looks like for me. Mine tend to get extremely messy because that's when I have my best ideas. But what I do here every single week is I choose an idea that I want to talk about or write about. And you can see here that I got my idea from the intellectual obesity crisis from Gurvinder on Substack. And I just put the intellectual laziness epidemic. This probably isn't what I'm going to call it because that's not how I create my stuff. I just put that here because that's the idea that I want to write about. You can see right here, my title may be something along the lines of give me 20 minutes and I'll change the way you think. Or I can always chat with this item or run it through a YouTube title generator, custom AI, to give me a bunch of YouTube titles based on what works. because it'll research what's working in the Discover feed for YouTube videos. It'll read through my newsletter, find the big ideas, and then give me a bunch of titles that I can then take and run with. But to show you how I use boards, what I tend to do is I create one a week based on the topic that I'm going to write my newsletter about for that week. The reason I do newsletter first is because of my content system. So I write the newsletter turns into the YouTube script, and then throughout the week, I can take ideas from what I'm writing in the newsletter and turn them into short form posts, and those short form posts go out to all platforms. So I can open the scheduler in a pane as I'm writing and jot down ideas and just publish them as I'm going. And I tend to just post ideas to social media whenever ideas come to mind. So it's not inherently tied to the newsletter. Now, what I do when I get inside of here is a few things. I'll first just create a document, and this is usually I'll call like a brain dump or an outline document, and this is where I just start jotting down the ideas that I want inside of the newsletter, just so they're all here in one place, so I can reference it as I'm writing. And what I mean by that is with the pane system. So let's look at this breakdown from a YouTube video. I can open this inside of a pane, and then I can open my newsletter right here, and I can just reference it as I'm writing. So I can have my research open alongside my writing as I'm writing, which is what every single writer does, but typically it's spread across multiple apps, multiple tabs, and it's just an absolute mess. Now, the next thing that I do, usually on the mobile app, is I'll create a card on mobile, and on mobile it's just the capture slide up. You hit the capture button in the bottom right, and then you can start typing, and it's already a card, and then you can save it to a specific board. So when ideas come to mind for what I'm writing about this week, I can capture a card inside of the board like this. That was actually done while I was on a walk, and then I have it in here so I can reference it or add it to my writing when I actually come to sit down and write. Now, in terms of the research process itself, what I tend to do here is I'll have the newsletter open, so I'm writing it, but then I'll open that same board in a pane, and so I have my brain dump, my outlines, the YouTube videos, and the other social posts that have ideas that I want to use inside of it. And another thing I could do is I could chat and ask for ideas from my library and then just tell it to add those ideas to this board, and it will do that. But the reason that I save things like my own Substack articles or YouTube videos or other people's YouTube videos or Reels or this Substack article is so I can open them, so I can read it as I'm actually writing. So if I needed to pull something from here, I could. But another way I can do that is by just right-clicking and then chatting with a specific YouTube video if I want to pull an idea from this. And so I could say, hey, break down the core arguments from this YouTube video, or tell me what I said about the death of social media in this YouTube video, because that's how writing works, right? You research specific books or YouTube videos or Substack articles or whatever it may be. Most writers or YouTube scripters aren't just sitting down and just writing from scratch. Some do, but not the majority of them. Research is 80% of the process. And of course, if you just want to have a conversation with AI about one of the ideas that you're writing about, then you can do that as well. And then once I'm actually done with the newsletter and I've gone through it, one thing you can do is hit the settings icon and then send to scheduler drafts, and then it will add it to your scheduler in the publish tab. So that way you can publish it to X articles or your Substack newsletter, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, one other thing that I want to show you with boards, and I don't know why I didn't show you this earlier, is that boards can have different views. So a lot of the times for something like a swipe file, you're going to use a grid view like this just because it's easier to see what posts or YouTube videos are inside of it. But when you're writing something like a newsletter, you may be better off using the freeform view that looks like this, so that you can actually drag things around and put them where you want them. And you can add sections, you can organize things, you can actually write inside of the newsletter from right here. I can double click into it and just type. So if I want to bounce between multiple things and write inside of multiple things like my brain dump in my newsletter, I can do so here. Or I can of course click the icons to just open it full screen or open it in a pane. And the fun thing here and the reason why I think this is a better writing environment is because if I want to ask an AI chat something about this newsletter or this YouTube video or whatever it is, I don't have to open a chat in another pane on the side. I can quite literally just drag from this connection dot and then drop here, and it creates a chat. and then I can start typing in it and I can ask questions. And this line means that this newsletter is connected to this chat, so it pulls it into context. And then if I wanted to connect other things to that chat to bring in multiple things, then I could do exactly that. Or if I wanted to talk specifically to this YouTube video, then I could do so here. And then I can just, once I get the idea that I need, switch back to my actual writing inside of the newsletter. So in my eyes, this is a much more creative way to go about it because you have ideas everywhere. You can chat with things wherever you need to, and you can either be super messy or super organized. And of course, in the freeform view, this won't display in the grid view or the list view. You can add shapes, you can add lines, you can add text. So if you want to just go crazy and diagram like you would on other whiteboard apps, you can do exactly that. And to add to a board, you can add from your library, insert a link. You can of course just paste a link to the board by hitting Command V. You can create cards, you can do all of that stuff. And in terms of a section, if you've ever used Figma or anything of that nature, a section is just a place where you can organize items and drag them around. So if you want to group things together, like your drafts or specific YouTube videos on a specific topic, then you can do so by just dragging them into a specific section, and then you can move the sections around. Now, one little tip here that I feel like a lot of people would want to hear is when you're dragging an item, you can hold down Command or Control, and that will turn on the snap to grid lines, right? So if you have OCD and you want things to be perfectly aligned, then you can do so like that. So you hold down Command or Control and then drag it. All right, so we have talked about library, we've talked about Discover, we've talked about boards, and we've somewhat gone over what chats can do. And by that, I mean they can do really anything. They can search for creators in specific niches that are doing really well. They can search top performing content across any topic. They can find relations and connections inside of your library. They can schedule posts. Chats can do essentially anything that Eden can do for you. So don't underestimate the power of that. But of course, what that means is that you have to know what you need to prompt the AI to do. So that's why we have custom AIs that you can share. And by custom AI, essentially what this is instructions, workspace knowledge, and creator perspectives in one focused AI. What does that mean? It means you can create specific research tools for any platform, any kind of social media content, really anything if you've used a Claude project or a ChatGPT project or a Notebook LM. And you can create thought partners. And what I mean by that is you can add creators specifically to a custom AI, which no other app can do. So as an example, I'll show you the structure of one of these so you can kind of just get the gist of it. And I want to show you the Reels Script Studio. So what this is it helps you write scripts according to best practices, right? Because the problem with general AI chats like Claude or ChatGPT, even though they're extremely powerful, is that you need to know exactly what you want. You need to know exactly what to prompt it to get the right result. The reason your AI responses suck or you think they're bad or don't work is because AI is like Play-Doh, right? Claude and ChatGPT are like Play-Doh, and if you don't shape it to exactly what you want, then it's going to do what it's programmed to do, which is to just have a general perspective and guess. And so what you do with these custom AIs is you give it context on what works. So you can see inside of this pre-built custom AI that you can use is that it has reference videos. So it has how to write viral hooks. It has storytelling advice. It has the lessons from studying 1,000 hooks. It has how to tell a great story. It has how to create irresistible hooks. And these are all from creators who know what they're doing. And Claude isn't going to go and look at these videos and study what these creators are saying and then only focus on that. It's going to pull a general opinion from anywhere on the internet or its training data. And so by simply limiting what the AI has access to this, you get a much more focused and better result. And inside of here, it has the short form scripting process. So you can read through these if you'd like. It also has the hook and first frame architecture, short form story structures, retention, pacing, and rehooks, so on and so forth. So you can just chat with this and then hit a starter prompt, like help me turn a rough idea into a reel or short. And then as you go through the conversation, you will come out with a reel script that is so much better than anything you would ever create in Claude or ChatGPT. And again, I have nothing against those. But if you do want to use Claude, the app, directly, it can access these as well. It can access the custom AIs that are inside of your workspace. So you add this to your workspace, install the MCP, which I'll show you how to do. And then you would just say in Claude, hey, use the Reel Script Studio to help me write a reel. So that's how you start with any of these, right? If you just don't know what to do, you have a goal. So writing a post, building a personal brand, doing whatever it is, play around with these. They're actually really fun to use, and they show up inside of my AIs. And you can see if I just chat with this, it shows up as a little dedicated chat. And when you're inside of this chat, it's only going to access the things you let it access. And it's not going to pull them all into context all at once. It's going to pull things in as necessary. Now, there are 3 different ways you can create a custom AI from scratch. There is building it from scratch, which we'll talk about in a second, so you can see what's inside of a custom AI, but most people aren't going to use this. I actually don't recommend using it unless you know exactly what you're trying to put in there. You're better off just starting with our build a custom AI process and then going in and editing it, because then you can just instruct our AI on what you want to build and it will create it all for you. And the way we have this set up is that it makes it really, really good. So even if you have a vague idea of what kind of custom AI you want to create, it will help guide you through it. And you can also build a voice. So let's say you wanted to chat with Ali Abdaal, or you wanted to chat with Alan Watts or some kind of philosopher, just to have a different perspective, because that is a very unique way of generating different ideas that isn't just chatting with a generic AI. You can create a tribe of mentors where you have multiple perspectives inside of one voice, and then you can chat with it to get criticism on your ideas, right? What if I had Aristotle and Plato and Alan Watts and all of these thinkers that I love, and I'm writing a newsletter and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think of this idea? What would you say about it? And then boom, I have super unique ideas that no one else is going to write about. They're not going to think about it through the perspective of Aristotle and Plato and Alan Watts all at once. So there are so many unique ways to use this that we'll have to go over in other videos, because like, the world is your ocean, or whatever that saying is with this. It is truly crazy how much this can help. But for most people just starting out, what you're going to do is you're going to hit build a custom AI. That is going to open the custom AI builder. And then it's just going to ask you what you want to do. It gives you a few examples of what you could create, but it usually starts with an existing prompt or tutorial or example output, board, note, PDF, writing sample, creator reference, paste it or @mention it. You simply just tell it what you want. And if you don't know what you want, you could just say, I kind of want something like this, but I don't know exactly what it should be. Can you help me ideate what would be really good here? And then that's what the AI can do for you. Now, one thing I would recommend, because if you don't know how to spot it, you won't know to build a custom AI around it, is this one, the tutorial. So let's say you want to learn how to create a really good YouTube video, or you want to write really good scripts, or you want to write really good tweets. Then you should go and find a YouTube video that teaches you how to do that and turn the YouTube video into a V1 of a custom AI. So if I wanted to write tweets, then I would go find a YouTube video or examples of top tweets, right? Let's say I have my post swipe file board down here. I could reference that board right here, typing @post swipe file, and then say, I want to turn this into a custom AI that helps me create drafts of tweets according to the ideas that you interview me for. And then it's going to pull those top performing structures and be able to turn the ideas that you give it into drafts that you can just pull more inspiration from. Now, we're going to be creating so many different videos on custom AIs because there's so many different things that you can do with them, and we'll be giving them out to you so you can try them as well. But I want to show you what's actually inside of the custom AI, and that may give you a few ideas. So if we go to the custom AI tab and we hit create custom AI, then build from scratch, it's going to put you inside of the knowledge section. So there are a few things that you can do here. And essentially what you're doing is you're creating the AI's brain. You're giving it what it can reference. And so you can add specific creators here. So one custom AI that you could build is a custom AI filled with your accounts. That way it can write as you, or you can ask it for your top performing posts, right? If you're writing a newsletter and you want to pull ideas from your past videos or any of those things, then you can have a custom AI with all of your accounts in it and all of your best videos. And then it will access those and just be a more constrained conversation. So I can add creators, like if I add myself here, I can add from my workspace, so specific boards or documents or YouTube videos or anything of that nature. I can filter through them here as well. Or I can just paste a link to a YouTube video if I want, and I can upload PDFs, EPUBs, Markdown, images, audio, and video, so on and so forth. One unique thing here is that when you add a source of knowledge, there are other settings. For creators, you can have it treat it as a mentor or a voice clone, right? So if I'm talking to myself here, I would probably want a voice clone because I want to see how I would rewrite something or give me variations on how to write something. But if it were someone else, then I would probably choose the mentor mode because I want their knowledge, right? This can be a learning tool as well. Now, if I click this settings icon, I can change the label, I can change the retrieval, and I can add a use when rule, right? Because when you're talking with a custom AI, it's not just pulling in everything that you add, it's intelligently going and searching for the correct context to pull in so that it can give you the best answer. So you can see the example here, use when drafting an issue about product strategy. So essentially, you're just giving it a guideline. When is it going to use my Substack within the chat? And this is why I said you really have to know what you're doing in order to build a custom AI from scratch. And that's why I would recommend going through the custom AI builder in the AI chat because it's going to fill out all of this for you and create something really good. Now, over in the configure tab, you can upload an image, you can change the icon, you can change the name, you can add a description, and you can add instructions. So instructions is essentially a prompt. How do you want it to behave? Do you want it to write a specific way? Do you want it to act like a strategic advisor? This can be as long or as short as you want it to be. And then you can add conversation starters. And the reason for these is largely because custom AIs are meant to be shared. So if you're a creator and you want to give this out as a lead magnet to your audience, or you want to include it as a complement to your course, or you want to put some of your best videos or knowledge inside of a custom AI and give it to other people so that they can download, then it's a great complement to that thing, especially a course. If you have a course, then I would highly recommend turning the best parts of that course into a custom AI that your students can use to go through the course better and to be able to actually implement it. And now the way you would do that is as so. So if we go to a custom AI like the daily post writer and we add it to my workspace, which I'm pretty sure I already have inside of there, but let's take this one, the Thought Partner 3000. I can hit share right here, and then that's going to allow me to share a link. And what it's going to do here is give me a link that I can paste. And if you are an affiliate of Eden, it will append your affiliate code to the link. So if you share a custom AI with your students, or as a lead magnet, or inside of a free download, or inside of a newsletter, or really anywhere, if people sign up for Eden afterwards, you get recurring commission. So that's another reason it's a great complement to something like a course, is because you increase the revenue of your course simply by including and sharing a custom AI in it. So you can set up your affiliate link, it'll walk you through it, and then you're good to go. Copy the link, and then just share it with your audience. Now, one of the last things I want to show you is relating to the MCP. We've talked about it quite a bit. I think you understand how powerful being able to research social posts or creators or view your analytics or any of that is, because with something like Claude Code, where you can build your own apps and build your own software, what if you wanted to build your own analytics dashboard or your own content command center or something of that nature? Normally, you wouldn't have the data or the infrastructure to do that. And almost every single MCP on the market right now only allows you to connect to your own accounts. It doesn't let you search through the entire market for trending posts. And they also don't let you schedule or publish content. So you can't have the complete content system inside of Claude, ChatGPT, or Cursor, but you can with Eden. So if you want to connect to the MCP, it's as simple as going to the MCP and then hit connect Claude or go through these specific steps, and then it will open up Claude. It'll be inside of there. You add the connection, and we also have another tutorial on how to do that on our channel. But as mentioned before, I think the easiest way to start is with something like this weekly strategist skill that we created. And all you need to do is paste this into Claude and it will help you set it up. And what it's going to do is it's going to search through millions of posts for you, and then it's going to grade all of them based on what it knows about you. It's going to look at your own accounts and what's working for you, and then it's going to pair the two together and give you a few bets that it thinks will do well for you throughout the week. So this is just a way to create your entire weekly content strategy. And again, you can find these in the description or eden.so/workflows. All right, we are now in the final stretch. We are looking at the publisher or the scheduler. So I want to walk you through a few little nuances here, because when you're scheduling to all platforms, things can get pretty messy. It's kind of hard to bake this into one UI that just works. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into settings, you're going to go to social accounts, and then you're going to connect the accounts that you want to be connected. This is the confusing part. There are two things here. There are a brand, and then there are a schedule. A brand is a set of social accounts. So I have my default brand here with my personal social accounts that I want connected. So I have X, LinkedIn, Threads, Instagram, and Substack. And then on the Eden brand, I have the Eden accounts connected, even though I'm not really posting to them right now. I kind of just use it for the auto DM feature on Instagram here. But that's what a brand is. So if your question is, oh, can I connect multiple accounts on the same platform? The answer is yes, but they belong on different brands. Now, what a schedule is just a specific schedule and what specific accounts you want on it. So if I only want Substack, Threads, and X on one schedule because they have very similar content, right? I can write a tweet and it perfectly goes onto Substack and Threads, right? So that makes sense on one schedule. But then Instagram and LinkedIn are kind of the oddballs out, right? I could have Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts on another schedule because it's all reels. But this really depends on what your content strategy is. For me, Instagram and LinkedIn belong on their own schedule because I post the same images on LinkedIn that I do on Instagram. The difference is that I also post reels on Instagram. So the best use case for the scheduler, in my opinion, is really just for written-based content. You can post reels, you can schedule them however you want. If you create carousels through something like Claude, then you can use the MCP to schedule those carousels to go out with an auto DM automation. But that's the gist of the schedule. Now, your schedules and brands will show here, so you can switch between them. So I have my social accounts here, and I have my tweet schedule here, even though I have other accounts connected right now, but I can turn Instagram off just so you can see how this is working. And now it really is as simple as just typing your post inside of here, right? you write the tweet, you write the thread, you write the Substack post, whatever it may be. You just write the post, and you can trust that will tell you when you need to do something different, or that will format things accordingly. So if I hit the plus button here or hit Command Enter, I can start writing a thread for something like Twitter or Threads or Substack, or I can write a long post just all in one. I can also attach an image. And if you have Instagram active, it will require you to add an image or a video, or else it will turn off and it won't post to that platform. And now after you've actually written the post, you can chat with it if you want to. It's just a little shortcut here, or you can boost it and get feedback and concrete fixes on it. And what you can do here as well is you can turn this post into an image. So essentially what this does is it turns it into a text-based post that you see all the time. So as an example, like it can just be a text post, or let's do like post dark. And so you can see here, it's just like a text-based image if you want to post that to something like LinkedIn. But of course, write an actual post for it. That would be ideal. But down here, you'll see settings for specific platforms. So on something like X, you can have your post be auto reposted on your timeline on a specific interval and at specific times. So I tend to set mine to retweet every 6 hours, twice, and usually I'll have them remove after 24 hours. So that just keeps my timeline clean. What this does is it just unretweets it so that it doesn't look like it's always retweeted. You can also add the first comment. So if I turn this on, I can write like a promotion, right? So if I write a post and I want to promote my newsletter or my product or service underneath it as a reply, then I can write the promotion here and I can choose when it'll post. So I can delay it for an hour or I can delay it when it gets a specific amount of engagement, which is useful because typically you don't just want to promote immediately. You want your post to start doing really well, like get 100 likes, and then promote underneath it. And this applies to both X and Threads. If you want to edit a platform specifically, because when you're writing in this shared editor, it's writing on X, Substack, Threads, or anything else that you have specifically. So if I go to X and I want to change something specifically on X, then I can just change it here, and you will see that this changes from synced to customized. So now this is a different post that will go out at the same time as the other ones. And then I can change it for Substack specifically if I want to, or I can change it for Threads specifically if I wanted to, or if I wanted to have different captions for my Reels compared to TikToks or YouTube Shorts, then I could do it that way. Or if I wanted to have this text on a LinkedIn post, but I wanted to add an image specifically for the LinkedIn post, then I could do that as well. And now the way this works is that your drafts show up here. This is actually one thing that I didn't touch on that I wish I would have touched on. And one thing that I love to do is when I'm chatting and asking for content ideas, and let's say I get a decent amount of tweet ideas, usually I'm not I'm never having AI schedule them for me as they're written. What I like to do is treat those as like a first draft that I would essentially go and rewrite. So what I would do inside of this chat is say, hey, add all of these ideas to my scheduler drafts, and then they'll show up inside of here. So when it's time to write, I can just come inside of here and then click on a draft and it'll show up like this guy. And then I can just edit it and then schedule it. And the way you would schedule it is hit schedule. You can turn on or off the platform if you want to, and then schedule to your specific time slot. And then once you do that, it will show up inside of your scheduler drafts. And if you are writing a post right here, you can also just click this, move here, and it will move right there. And then I don't really want this here, so I'm going to delete it. And then once the posts actually go out, you can see their analytics here. Or you can go to the analytics tab and start to play around with this. And this allows you to filter and see recent posts and, what typical analytics do. And then of course, a reminder that the auto DM is here if you want to get into that, but this isn't something that we're going to go into in this video simply because it does get a bit complex. And I believe that is it. That felt very long for me. I hope it didn't feel that long for you, but I think we covered everything. Maybe we missed a few very minor things, but we covered all of the major things. So next, what you can do is sign up for Eden. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord server. If you have any questions as you go, or if any issues pop up inside of the app for you, you can download the mobile app. You can get the Chrome extension. You can start saving ideas. You can start saving articles and YouTube transcripts to read and highlight, or you can connect to the MCP if you want to do all of this stuff in Claude. But as I mentioned, this was just a big overview with a few useful tips to get up and running. We're going to have more specific tutorials in the future, so subscribe as well if you want to see those. And aside from that, thank you for sticking until the end of the video. I truly hope that it did help in some way. So thank you. Links in the description for everything. We'll see you in the next tutorial/video. See you later.